Security and freedom can coexist. The government can both defend our telecommunications networks and protect the rights and freedoms of all Canadians.
The conversation starts now.
There we have it. Welcome to Unwoken. I'm your host, Nico Lagan. Today on the show, we're going to be speaking about two things. First, I want to address that finally the Conservative Party is speaking against the liberal censorship bills. And I want to talk about a little event that took place over the weekend called Life Chain. Get your comments ready because the show starts right now. What's going on, guys? How you doing? Gonna say hi to some of the listeners here. Trevor, what's going on? Good morning. I will try to catch the show. I'm sure it will be a good one. We'll see. We'll see. You tell me. Wise guy, what's going on? Pam, top of the day, peeps, and Prairie. Haven't seen you in a while. Hello to you. So, finally, somebody in the Conservative Party is speaking against the censorship bills that the Liberals have tabled. So we're talking C-2 and C-9. Of course, the bills are C-2, C-8, C-9, and the new C-63. But right now, today at least, we're going to be speaking about C-2 and C-9. There is a woman by the name of Dr. Leslyn Lewis, or Leslyn, my apologies, Leslyn Lewis, that I've seen a few of her videos up to now, and I like her. She is very, very, very outspoken. I really like what she has to say. It doesn't happen often that I like a politician, but this one, her, Dr. Leslyn Lewis, I gotta say that I am happy, at least, that she is speaking out. And here is what she had to say about Bill C-8 last week. And if you remember, Bill C-8 is the bill against, or the act for cyber security protection. So here is Leslyn Lewis and what she had to say about Bill C-8.
Security and freedom can coexist. The government can both defend our telecommunications networks and protect the rights and freedoms of all Canadians. Bill C-8 may secure networks, but as it stands, it risks imprisoning citizens digitally and denying them fundamental justice. In so doing, it undermines the very freedoms that we seek to protect. Let us not mistake security for liberty. Let us not trade our rights of Canadians for a false sense of protection. Mr. Speaker, let me give you a concrete example of how Bill C-8 could affect an ordinary Canadian. Imagine Sarah, a citizen, frustrated with the government program that she believes was mismanaged and that was corrupt. In her frustration, she posts online, threatening to expose government corruption. She threatens to reveal secret information she has collected about the program. The government views her post as a threat to telecommunications system, and so quietly issues an order under Bill C-8. Her internet provider receives the direction to shut down her internet and phone services, all without a court warrant, and all without court order. The same provider is legally forbidden from disclosing that reasons why Sarah's internet was suspended. If the provider were to explain, they could face penalties and even jail. The next morning, Sarah is shocked to find that she cannot access her mail, her bank account, or work portal. Her social media accounts are frozen. She cannot contact her friends, family, and colleagues. She has been cut off entirely from the digital world, and she has no idea why. This is a system of double secrecy. The government order is hidden, and the provider is prohibited from telling her anything. Sarah cannot see the evidence against her. Sarah cannot ask questions, and she has no way of defending herself. She is effectively trapped in a digital prison, isolated, powerless, and silenced. Over the following days, the impact deepens. Sarah cannot pay her bills, participate in remote work, access healthcare portals, or communicate with anyone. Eventually, she finds out that the government is behind this, so she attempts to challenge the order, only to hear that any judicial review may involve secret evidence that she cannot see. The provider has the information, but under Bill C-8, they are not allowed to share it. Every attempt to assert her rights is blocked. She is not merely inconvenienced, she is entirely cut off with no meaningful recourse. Mr. Speaker, this scenario is conceivable and legal under Bill C-8 as it stands. It illustrates why BC-8 secrecy and non-disclosure provisions are so dangerous to individuals. You may say that this would never happen. The government no doubt will insist the intent of the bill is clear. But why should Canadians trust them? We must take the bill at face value. We must rely on what the text explicitly sets out in the law. Otherwise, the law intended to protect telecommunications infrastructure could easily be weaponized by any government against ordinary citizens.
Yeah, and Prairie, you're saying it best. What the fuck? And your what the fuck is 100% accurate. This is exactly the power that they have under Bill C-8. And guys, if you want to have a deep dive into Bill C-8, we recorded a video, was it last week? I believe it was last week, with John Carpay, and we broke it down. So I'm going to leave it. If you're not watching live, I'm going to drop it into the description of this video so that you guys can find it. But yeah, it is part of the bill itself. But what's interesting is it's not even the act itself that's a problem. So Bill C-8 as a whole is not that big of a problem. Yes, it's a bit of overreach, as in they're asking telecommunication companies to provide access to some of their telco room, to some of their servers, which, as a guy that comes from that world, I've heard of those demands like an RFP and request for proposal by the government. So this is not surprising to me. I understand what they're trying to do with this, but the problem with that bill is not even, and just to show you here, here's the bill itself. So the problem is not with necessarily Bill C-8 or Act respecting cybersecurity, but the problem, and what she was referring to, is the amendments that they're trying to make to the Telecommunication Act. That is the problem. So in that bill, they would authorize, as she said, the government would have the power, and we're talking the Minister of Industry. It's the Minister of Industry, Mélanie Joly, that would have that power. So yes, under Bill C-8, she would be able to, on her reasonable doubt, so on her opinion alone, she would be able to request the telecommunication companies like Bell, Rogers, Thales to cut the internet to one of their users because they see them as a threat. And I'm telling you, go check out the deep dive that we did with John Carpay from the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom. But this is absolutely accurate. What Leslyn Lewis was talking about is 100% true. It gives them the power to do that. But also the power that she's talking about, she referred to the fact that the person that it happens to, the person being censored, let's be honest here. So the person that's being censored would be under a non-disclosure agreement. So she would not be able to speak about it. So not only is there information that she wouldn't be able to receive, but as per the bill and as per what we learned with John Carpay, they wouldn't be allowed to speak about what's going on. So there literally be a gag order on the person that's being censored. And for the people out there that believes that, oh yeah, okay, it could be interpreted this way or blah, blah, blah. It's not interpretation. It is literally black on white that they have the power to do this. And the real question is, why would they want to have that power? I think we all know the answer to that. But don't tell me that you trust the government. Just remember what happened during the lockdowns. Remember what happened during the Freedom Convoy. They actually froze people's bank accounts. During the lockdowns, they prevented people from leaving their house. They weren't allowed to go at specific places. Like me, that's unvaccinated. I couldn't go anywhere anymore. I could go to the grocery store and I could go to the pharmacy. That's it. I could not go anywhere else because I didn't have a passport. Can you imagine if they had that power back then, what they would have been able to do to people like me? Because I've been talking against this ever since COVID. I've been talking against the government, and I've been talking about what they're doing and how wrong it is. Imagine if the government, the liberal government, 4 or 5 years ago would have had the power that Bill C-8 would give them. Can you imagine? They would have literally been able to do, what was the term? I was phrased that term not too long ago, but they would be able to see every cell phone that was in a specific area, let's say the Freedom Convoy, for example, and they would have been able to look at all the cell phones that were present, see who owns all of those cell phones, and ask their telecommunication companies, the Bell, Rogers, and TELUS of Canada, to cut their internet service because they were protesting. Basically, that's the type of power that Bill C-8 would give them. And to tell me that they would never do that, bullshit. They froze people's bank account during the Freedom Convoy. Tomorrow, I believe that it's tomorrow that we're going to learn what's happening with Chris Barber and Tamara Lynch. But to tell me that our government would never do that, bullshit. We all know that if they have the power, they will take advantage of that power. So good for Leslyn Lewis to speak against that bill. We've been speaking about it quite a bit. Myself, I've been speaking about it almost every couple of days just to remind people, guys, you need to be fucking careful because this is coming. This is coming. This is what's happening in the UK could literally happen right here if you have a bill like that that's being passed. But I think it's worse because right now, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but I do not believe that there's a bill in the UK that would freeze your internet access, that would completely cut you off. You can get arrested. You can actually get thrown in prison. We've seen some sentences, I think 20 months in prison for a tweet. So they have consequences that will jail you. I haven't heard of people getting their internet access cut, but as I said, if you guys have heard that, let me know. But the point in the matter is that in the UK, people are getting jailed for tweets. And we know that under Bill C-9 and the new Bill C-63, when it's retabled, because it was announced last week, at least in the past couple of weeks, that it will be retabled. So we know that they're planning on censoring us. They're spreading their censorship throughout different bills. They don't just have a one big brother fuck you bill. They're spreading this through 4 different bills. Bill C-2, Bill C-8, Bill C-9, and soon Bill C-63, that was, if you don't remember, it's the Online Arms Act. So it was sold to people as in we're trying to protect children. So I'm happy to see people like Leslyn, finally speaking about it. And, you know, I'm going to give credit where credit is due because there's somebody else that's been speaking. And that, I got to say, surprises the hell out of me because if you guys know me, I am not a fan of Pierre Poilievre whatsoever. But I got to give credit where credit is due because, and by the way, it's because he doesn't stand up for anything. He's not a real conservative. He's a liberal and he never stands up for anything. But this time it seems that he actually spoke out. And as you can see on the screen here, this is CBC reporting that conservatives won't support liberal border bill without major changes, says Pierre Poilievre, and that is Bill C-2. The conservative leader is saying that as it stands, the bill includes violation of Canadians' freedom and privacy. And he's absolutely right. We've told the Liberals that in their current bill C-2 will not pass unless they remove the violation of Canadians' individual freedoms and privacy. We don't think that law-abiding Canadians should lose their liberty to pay for the failures of the Liberals on borders and immigration. But if we continue, because that bill was a long one. I know I read it all. And again, we did do a deep dive with John Carpay. I will put the link in the description below. So if you haven't seen that episode, it's really worth it for you to see it, because you will see that that bill is absolutely scary too. It's 140 pages long, so it's quite long to read. But all to say that finally, it looks like Pierre Poilievre is talking about this. Although I would argue that he's not pushing it far enough, because if you remember, under Bill C-2, it would give the power to Canada Post to open your mail. And I do believe that Pierre Poilievre spoke about it in this interview that he did with CBC. But not only does it give the power to Canada Post to open your mail, it also gives the power to the government to restrain the amount of money that can be done, like a transaction, monetary transaction. So basically, we would not be able to buy anything or to give $10,000 or more cash. But that sounds like a lot of money for most people, because most people don't walk around with $10,000 or are not planning to ever walking around with $10,000 in their pockets or buying something cash that's worth $10,000. But the problem with putting a limit on the amount of money people can purchase with is that once that's in there, once that's law, that law can be amended. So there's nothing stopping them afterwards from going from $10,000 to $1,000 to $500, or to say you're no longer able to buy anything with cash. Just look at what's going on in the UK. That's exactly the type of policies that they're trying to push. Everywhere you hear right now, they're talking about having centralized banking, digital centralized banking, which means cashless society. They want to remove cash from our hands because they can't track cash. But if everything is online, if everything is electronic, everything can be tracked. And just like Starmer said in the UK, when that digital ID that they've been pushing comes reality, they will attach your biometrics to it. Once that biometric is attached to it, your finances, your bank records, your bank accounts are going to be attached to it. And he said that every single transaction will have to be approved. So let's say that my wife is sending money to her brother, or my wife is sending money to me. My wife's sending money to help someone, whatever that might be. They will need they could flag that transaction as in, where's the money coming from? Who is it going to? Why is it going there? So Starmer already is talking about how this will become reality, that the government will need to pre-approve your transactions before they're completed. Is that really the type of world you want to live in? And this might sound like science fiction, what I'm telling you, but this is a fact. This is a fact that's going on in the UK, and this is exactly how it starts. Bill C-2, Bill C-8, Bill C-9, Bill C-63, and I would argue that we would be further down the road than they are in the UK if those bills pass. And just as a reminder, tonight on the Political Orphans, we are joined by Maxime Bernier to speak about a message that he received from somebody affluent in Canada. We'll talk about it tonight, but the reason he's on the show is to speak about the fact that that somebody in Canada, somebody that represents the Native community, has said that she will take one of the posts that he made last week about Reconciliation Day and report him to the police for hate speech. So what we're talking about, how this can happen, is not a fantasy anymore. I literally have posts of her saying that she will do that. The news contacted Maxime Bernier to get an answer from him. So just as a reminder, he'll be on the show tonight at 8:30 to speak about that, because in my views, this is the start to censorship. So Bill C-2, I'm going to repeat them all the time because I want you guys to have it in mind. Bill C-2, Bill C-8, Bill C-9, and the new Bill C-63 that will be tabled soon. But at least Pierre Poilievre had the balls to speak about Bill C-2. He did it in a very easy way like he always does, but hey, at least he's talking about it. And Bill C-8 that Leslyn Lewis spoke about, and the example that she used is bang on. It's absolutely right. And the last thing I forgot about Bill C-2 is, so it would give the power to Canada Post to open your mail. It would give them the power to decide how much money, how much monetary transactions are you able to make. But it would also give them the opportunity to spy on your electronic devices, install spyware, which would take the information off your cell phone, remove it without letting you know. And when you think about everything that's electronic today, it's not just your cell phone, it's not just your laptop, it's your car that's electronic, it's your television. Some people have a refrigerator that is connected online. So when you start looking, it could be your camera system at home, it could be your alarm system, it could be almost everything's connected online now. So that would give them the power to spy on you and not have to let you know. There was a lot of things wrong with Bill C-2. Just like if you plan on exporting anything to the US, like let's say I have a t-shirt company, I want to export some stuff to the US, that means that CBSA would be capable of coming to my place and look at my stuff, look at the gear that I'm selling. And let's say that this is in a garage. Well, they would have to get access to the garage to see the goods. If it's in my house, it's in the basement. Guess what? They would have access to that too. We were even looking when John Carpay was there, and it seemed that even in transport, so let's say you have a trucking company that you're paying in order to transport goods from A to B, just because they will eventually make it to the US, they will be exported, that guy's truck could be looked at. It's absolutely insane. That bill is being passed as a border security to reduce immigration, but it is a power grab on surveillance. It's a surveillance bill. If they were honest, that is how they would call it. So before we get to the next subject, because these shows, I'm going to keep them short. I just want to take some of your comments. And Pat Dodds is saying, hold on. David B. Leslyn Lewis for PM. You know what? I like her. If there's not a lot of politicians that I like, and I don't know that much. I'll be the first one to admit that I do not know her personally. I don't endorse her by any stretch of the imagination, but I've seen a few of her comments that she made in the House of Commons, and I like it. This one, I absolutely love it, and she's a well-spoken girl, smart girl. I like it. I absolutely like it. Prairie saying secret evidence against you, but you can't see it. Get the fuck out of here. Not only can't you see it, there's a non-disclosure agreement that you might not be able to talk about it at all. So absolutely insane. Wise Guy saying, I would hate to be a liberal minister who vote for this and the other bills Carnage is pushing. Yeah, man, I don't feel too bad for them. They know what they signed up for, so I don't feel bad for them. I feel bad for us, because it's really, really time for us to wake the fuck up, because these bills can simply not happen. Derek Seitler is saying things would have been very different. I would imagine you're referring to if Poilievre would have been in power. I don't know. Maybe you want to confirm. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Wise Guy, she would get writer's cramp from signing orders all day and all night. I guess out would come the Orphan. Maybe I'm missing a conversation here, but yeah, no, Prayer is saying, Nico, you got to see what's happened with France Whittleson in Winnipeg. Some updates on her YouTube channel. I don't even know who that is. Hold on, let me. France Whittleson YouTube. Updates on the Winnipeg zombie apocalypse. What the I have no idea who that is, Prairie. I'm on her YouTube channel right now. I'm gonna have to check it out because I do not know who that woman is. If you want to leave a comment to kind of explain what we're talking about here, but yeah, let me know because I have no idea who that woman is. I'll have to check her out afterwards. And yeah, I agree, Prairie, reduce immigration. Yeah, right. No, that's the lie that they're gonna sell, but it's bullshit. We all know it's bullshit. The minister who can cut people off the internet at Nico. Yeah, that's Melanie Joly, the Minister of Industry. That is who would be capable of doing that. And Jim, what's going on? So guys, if you're on X, make sure to like, make sure to restream this stream. But you should join us on YouTube because that is where the conversation is going on. If I would say the same thing to the people on Instagram, join the conversation on our YouTube channel at Orphans. Join the conversation right here. And if you believe in what I do, please become a member. Consider becoming a member either on YouTube or, as you can see at the top of my screen, you have the opportunity to buy me a coffee. So if you want to support independent media, that's how you do it. That being said, hold on. Before I switch to the other story, let's see. Pam is saying, Nico, France disputes the residential grave story. Oh, yeah, we all do, don't we? Well, anybody with a common sense does. And yeah. So I would like her then. I would definitely like her because I don't believe it for one fucking second at all. And Perry saying, dang, she's a professor that is challenging this mass grave in BC or graves anywhere. Definitely get her on the show. So that might not be a bad idea at all. We've had somebody, I can't remember, McMurphy. McMurphy was another BC. Was he a professor or was he a teacher? I can't remember which school, which age he taught, but that's another one that lost his teaching career for speaking against the mass grave narrative that they're trying to sell, that they never apologized for, by the way, and that more than 100 churches have burned since Justin Trudeau invented the mass grave. So no, there's definitely no accountability there, but hey, are we that surprised? Now, the last subject I wanted to talk about today is a bit of an interesting one. This is very taboo to speak about in Canada. In the US, I speak about this all the time, but in Canada, this is not something that's even open to conversation, which it should be. And I want, you guys know me, I want to be able for us to have civil discourse. And there was I'm taking advantage of the fact that there was an event over the weekend called Life Chain, where thousands of Canadians gathered across Canada to support annual pro-life event. So I don't know. I don't know that that organization. I've never dealt with them. I am not aligned. I am not associated with them at all. I just saw that article on the Epoch Times, and basically they're saying that thousands of Canadians gathered over 300 sites or 300 locations across the country on October 5th, which was yesterday, in support of annual pro-life event called Life Chain, which advocate for the protection of human life at all stages. And this is a conversation Rob and I have had a few times on the Political Orphans. This is a conversation I talk about on my channels all the time. I am pro-life, no questions about it. But this is not the point that I wanted to bring up today. The point that I wanted to bring up today is just to show you some numbers, because I hope that we can at one point have a conversation, an honest conversation about abortion, where the people that consider themselves pro-choice and the people that consider themselves pro-life can sit down and have an actual conversation about what's going on. Because here are some numbers. I've done some research this morning and I wanted to bring some numbers that should interest everybody in Canada, no matter if you're pro-life or pro-choice. But in 2023, there were 351 and 477 births in Canada. During that same year, there were 101,553 abortions, and that is a 4.4% increase over 2022. Basically, this means that 1 out of 4 potential birth is aborted. I don't even know what to say to that. It's absolutely insane. So 350,000, give or take 350,000 births in Canada. Over 100,000 of them, over 100,000 were aborted. So that would mean that there would have been a potential for over 450,000 births in Canada, but a fourth of them, 25, technically it's almost 29%, but all to say, 1 out of 4 possible birth is aborted in Canada. If you look at the time that they're aborted, 82 to 90% of abortion occur in the first trimester, so within the first 12 weeks, and 10 to 18% happens after the first 12 weeks. The reason the numbers are so big, like the reason the disparity between the low and the high end, is because in Canada, those are not tabulated on a national level. So those numbers are hard to go, but they're hard to get. But oh, there you go. Canada does not officially track or report the reasons for inducted abortions at a national level. But for sake of argument, we can assume that they're probably very similar to what we're seeing in the US. Although the US does not have a national mandate for reporting reasons for abortion, the numbers indicate that 95% of abortions are for socioeconomic or finance reasons. Basically meaning that less than 5% of abortions are for medical reasons, rape or incest, which I won't even address. Like that 5% to me, I don't have I have my opinion, but that opinion does not matter, because when it comes to medical reason, it could either be the life of the mother is being threatened, the unborn himself is not viable, or rape and incest. That's one I'm not touching with a 10-foot pole. But 95% of abortions in the US, which we can assume that the numbers are similar here in Canada, are because of socioeconomic reasons. And if you look at the two main reasons for abortion, if you break down the socioeconomic reasons, are financial, being the highest, the number one reason, and the second reason being that they're not ready to have children. So those are the two main reasons. And the reason I think it's important that we actually have that conversation is because look, the new reports show that the birth rate in Canada is at an all-time low, 1.25 baby per woman. So maybe it's time for us to consider other methods than abortion, like adoption, for example. Because one of the things that's often reported is that people in abortion clinics or at the hospitals don't speak about adoption. Abortion being the best or the only way to deal with an unwanted pregnancy. Yet, if you look in Canada, as we speak right now, private adoptions, meaning that those are babies that are normally relinquished voluntarily at birth, have a waiting list of 36 families per infant. So we're talking a massive amount of people would want those children. So I'm not here to say how you should live your life. All I wanted to do is to show some numbers, but maybe it is time considering that we're talking about life at the end of the day. We're talking about the fact that our birth rate has never been lower, because you need 2.1 or 2.2 in order to sustain our population. We're looking at 1.25 right now. And the fact that there are 36 families waiting for every available infant, which, as I said, that's through private adoption, when newborns are relinquished voluntarily. So there are other options than abortion. And maybe it's time that we look at fixing our adoption policies, or make them more available, or at least educate the women that are dealing with an unwanted pregnancy. That's all I got. I'm going to take some comments on here, but yeah, it's one of those subjects that I know that most people don't want to talk about. It's not even a conversation that people are having here in Canada, and I don't understand, because I'm pro-life. I believe that life begins at conception. And if there's one thing I've realized from speaking with Rob Ambrose, the liberal atheist that I record the Political Orphans with, is that the disagreement is not that murdering life is wrong. This is not where the disagreement between Rob and I is what do we consider life? When does life begin? I believe life begins at conception. He believes that life begins at a heartbeat. So you're looking at around 10 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks, depending. So the conversation about abortion is not, is murdering the unborn okay? That's not what the discussion is about. Is what do we consider alive? When does life begin? And I would like for us to be able to have open conversation about these subjects, because if we don't, they're going to be taboo just the way that they are right now. And I don't know for you, but thinking about the fact that literally 25% of the possible birth in Canada, the possible humans, were aborted, blows my mind. Absolutely blew my mind. I did not think that it was the same as the US, but the numbers are basically the same. So, yeah. It's just one of those subjects that gets me in the feels every single time, because I remember hearing my son's heartbeat 12 weeks, and I started crying like a little girl. So I don't know how we can do that to the little unborns. I don't understand it, but I wish we could simply have that conversation. So yeah, here we are. Maybe there has to be solutions, because 25% is a lot of abortion. Like more than 100,000 abortion in Canada in 2023. That to me was insane. Absolutely insane. But yeah, we as Prairie is saying exactly, Nico, we need to have these conversations no matter how uncomfortable. And it's not, I'm not trying to tell you that I'm right and that you're wrong if you believe that if you believe in abortions. This is not conductive to anything. I might think you're wrong, you're going to think I'm wrong, but trying to find common sense, trying to at least open the conversation, the civil conversation, the civil discourse between individuals to see where we actually sit. Because those numbers to me are fucking scary. So I'm going to take a couple of your comments, and then we'll call it a day. Anastasia is saying, I was asked by a doctor at least on 6 different occasions, what because my daughter was going to be born with an innate cleft lip and palate, that again, I went into labor at 23 weeks, and they asked me to make a choice to let her go. 5 years later, she has had all her surgeries and she's doing better. It was a battle, but I'd never change a thing. And there you have it. So yeah, I fully get you, Anastasia. Good for you. Good for you. Good for your daughter. Thanks for sharing. Wise guy saying, I'm pro-life, but I don't think having a child at this time in Canada is a good idea. At the rate we're going, this will be a Muslim country in about 15 years. I wouldn't wish that on anyone. And I get you. I fully understand where you're coming from, but The thing that I want to say is that if we don't have children, if we don't teach our sons and our daughters to stand up for what they believe in, you might as well kiss Canada goodbye. But we need another generation. We need a further generation of people, of kids, of children that once they're adult will be able to fight for what Canada is supposed to be. And this is why my son's 2.5 months old. He's between 2.5 and 3 months old. So I'm doing it because I want him to know what it is to stand up for what I believe in. I want to show him the type of man he can aspire to be by being that example for him. But it is him. At the end of the day, wise guy, it's bad right now, but as you said, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. And it's going to be his generation that's going to have to deal with the consequences of what's going on right now if we can't stop it. So we need to make sure that not only do we have children, but that they've been raised to understand what's coming and to know how to deal with it. So I get what you're saying, brother, but I see it the complete opposite way. Razzie Jackson, what's going on? Thanks for becoming a member, by the way, first and foremost. Welcome aboard. You're now an official orphan. Razzie is saying, we have to remember that world governments are very much trying to call the population. There's, you're absolutely right. If you look at some old reports from the WHO, they were suggesting a 90% population reduction. That's what would be the best for the planet. So this is not even a conspiracy theory. This is absolutely right. And they imagine 90% reduction rate. How do you do it? Through whoops that sterilize people. You do it through people getting abortions, driving that birth rate down so you never have to pick up a gun. You can literally do it by attrition. So Razzie, yeah, you're absolutely right. I agree with you. It's scary as shit, but you're absolutely right. Derek Settler, there's never a perfect time for a child except now. Find a way to make ends meet. You'll never regret it. Brother, bang on. Ding, 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 ding. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, Derek. I completely agree with you. Jim, I read an article about people who are getting assisted suicide or having their organs harvested. Thoughts about that? I'll address it tonight. I wanted to address it on the Political Orphans yesterday, but we didn't have enough time. So Jim, this is something I want to talk about this tonight. So come back tonight and we'll talk about it. I'll take two more. I'll take two more comments and then we'll call it a day. Derek Settler is saying, beside, we need successive replacement generation to turn the tide. That's exactly where I stand. You're bang on. Wise guy, I applaud you, Nico, if only every Canadian thought like you. Well, you know, I don't want every Canadian. I thank you for the comment. Thank you. I appreciate the love, brother, but I don't want Canadians to think like me. I just want Canadians to think for themselves, but have a critical mind. That's it. That's all. If there's one thing I can wish for all Canadians to have is a critical mind, to be able to listen to what people have to say, do some research and make up their own mind. But I don't want you to believe me. I don't want you to necessarily trust me. I want you to doubt me. On the contrary, I want you to doubt what I say enough that you're going to try to prove me wrong. And while you proving me wrong, you might prove me wrong, but possibly you'll prove me right and you might change your mind. So I just want to open the conversation, brother. That's all I want. And I wish Canadians would have an open mind and a critical mind. And Bressel Tube, I'm an orphan too. Brother, you're going to fit right in because the name of the network here is the Political Orphans. So every single person in the comment section considers themselves a political orphan. So welcome. And guys, if you like the show, if you're on X, you like the show, make sure to like, make sure to reshare the stream. If you're on Instagram, like, comment. But guys, the conversation really happens on the YouTube channel. So make sure to join us at the Poly Orphans on YouTube. Once you're there, like, comment, dislike the videos. That's fine too. Let us know how you feel. Leave us a comment in the comment section. Subscribe and click on that little bell so that you know when we are going live. And if you want to help support independent media, you have two options. You can either become a member, just like Jazzy did, or Razzie, my apologies, Razzie Jackson. Razzie Jackson. She came from the Instagram. She came over. That's where she follows me. So she went from the Instagram to the YouTube channel, became a member. So I suggest you do the same for $2.99 a month. If not, if you don't want to give money to YouTube, I get it. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Nico Lagan. We will be back tonight, 8 p.m. and we're going to have Maxime Bernier at 8:30 tonight to speak about the hate speech that he posted last week. On that note, I wish you a great afternoon, and I will see you tonight.